Okay, I have video for you today that is truly like nothing I have ever seen before. Donald Trump was interviewed on Fox News, and he tried to explain the genesis of getting a cognitive assessment and brag about the results. And I have to tell you, this interview performance by Donald Trump only raises more questions about his cognitive state. You really have to hear this. Now, remember, the context is Sunday, during an interview with Fox News' Chris Wallace, the topic of Trump's cognitive test and cognitive state came up. Chris Wallace pointed out, according to a new poll, people are more confident in Joe Biden's cognitive state than in Donald Trump's. And Donald Trump really reacted very strangely. He told Chris Wallace on Sunday that that Joe Biden wouldn't do as well as Trump did on a cognitive test, when Wallace pointed out, that test is pretty easy. It was like identify a drawing of an elephant. Trump said, well, the last 5 questions are really tough. And Trump even said to Chris Wallace that Wallace himself wouldn't do super well on the test, which is, it's just absolutely insane. So cut to yesterday, Trump is interviewed by Fox News, and we've got to go through it piece by piece. And you'll see this is really something else. Let's just jump right in. Trump starting out by saying he sought out a cognitive test in order to prove his critics wrong. He immediately goes off the rails into these tangents of free association, a sort of verbal ink blot test.
So the last time I was at the hospital, probably a year ago, a little less than a year ago, I asked the doctor, I said, is there some kind of a cognitive test that I could take? Because I've been hearing about it, because I want to shut these people up. They're fake news. They make up stories. I'll do an interview with you. I didn't say you can't ask me about this. I say ask me anything. I did one with Chris Wallace. He was nice enough to say, he said, I just want to tell the audience there was no question that's off bounds. Okay, and he's a tough cookie, and it was a good interview. I liked it. I enjoyed it. And it was good. But I didn't say you can only ask this, we have to be sharp. If you're in the office of the presidency, we have to be sharp. So they were saying all these different things. It was going all over. Whichever stuck. None of it stuck, fortunately. But one of the reasons it didn't is that I took a test. I said to the doctor, it was Dr. Ronnie Jackson, I said, is there some kind of a test? An acuity test. And he said there actually is, and he named it, whatever it might be. And it was 30 or 35 questions. The first questions are very easy. The last questions are much more difficult.
Okay, so let's stop there. Trump says he did this a year or less than a year ago. In January of 2018 was when we reported that Trump took the Montreal Cognitive Assessment and claims to have scored a perfect score on it. So if Trump is referring to that test as being less than a year ago, that's weird. Did he take another test more recently? We don't know. But as far as we were told, Trump's last cognitive test was 2.5 years ago. Trump says it was recent, like in more recently than the last year. That's another one of these questions. Now, he also mentions he did it with Dr. Ronnie Jackson. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, as far as I recall, was already gone in March or April of 2018. So it would be very weird for Trump to be saying, I took this less than a year ago with Dr. Ronnie Jackson, because Ronnie Jackson was gone at that point in time. It's weird. Trump also says that it's 30 or 35 questions. Well, if it is the Montreal Cognitive Assessment, it's out of 30 points. It's certainly not 30 questions, depending on what you consider a question. It's sort of like 15 different exercises. Again, the last ones are not difficult, but let's continue, because then Trump gets into that. And this is maybe the most interesting part.
Like a memory question. It's like you'll go person, woman, man, camera, TV. So they say, could you repeat that? So I said, yeah. So it's person, woman, man, camera, TV.
Now, this is absolutely fascinating. Trump gives examples of the memory part. He says, you have to remember 5 words: person, woman, man, camera, TV. Now, what Trump is doing there is he's grouping or chunking the terms by theme. And he's clearly just looking around, and, he was talking to a man. There must have been a woman, maybe off camera. He says camera, TV. That actually raises more questions about Trump's cognitive state, because the way this would normally be done is with unrelated terms. The examples in the sample test that we have and are showing our audience, the example words are face, velvet, church, daisy, red. So again, the words are not related. And the fact that Trump found that question difficult, and maybe he even got an easier version, right? Like, in other words, if Trump's 5 words that he was given were related, That is also very strange that he would find it difficult. So Trump is just picking things around him that makes it a way easier question. And again, it shouldn't be particularly tough. Let's continue.
Okay, that's very good. If you get it in order, you get extra points. Okay, now he's asking you other questions, and then 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes later, they say, remember the first question? Not the first, but the 10th question? Give us that again. Can you do that again? And you go person, woman, man, camera, TV. If you get it in order, you get extra points. They said nobody gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy.
So here, it truly sounds like Trump is being treated like a difficult child. What a good boy. You got the words. Not only did you get the words right, Donnie, you got them in order. Here's a lolly and a sticker to put on your shirt. No one gets them in order, Trump says. Does anybody understand how insane it is that Trump is bragging about this? And he actually keeps going.
And that's not an easy question. In other words, they ask it to you, they give you 5 names and you have to repeat them. And that's okay. If you repeat them out of order, it's okay, but you know, it's not as good. But then when you go back about 20, 25 minutes later and they say, go back to that question, they don't tell you this.
Now, the interviewer, despite not really questioning what Trump is saying, visibly looks shell-shocked by what Donald Trump is talking about. But I'm not giving the guy credit. He could have challenged any single one of these assertions, and he didn't. And then Trump portrays passing the test as if he just, spliced the atom or something. It's stunning.
You know, if you take this test, we may have to reveal it. I said, it's all right. I mean, is it tough? Tell me about it. I'd never heard of it. And I got a perfect mark. And the doctors they said very few people can do that. Very few people get that. You understand? It's not that easy. There were other questions tougher than what I just did.
Now, there Trump says that there were even harder questions than remembering 5 words. There really aren't. I mean, there's this question where, as an example, you start with 100 and then they tell you count backwards by 7 from 100. So you go, okay, 193, 86, 79, 72, etc. Maybe that's what Trump is referring to. There's another one, which is like, name as many words as you can in a minute that start with the letter D. And you've got to go, dog, doofus, depraved, dilapidated, you get it. So there really aren't more difficult questions. And that's also weird that Trump is bringing up. And then just one more clip here.
But it's not that easy. But as soon as they announced my score and that test, all the stuff went away about me. Is he competent? Remember, they're talking about 25th Amendment and nonsense. And they said, wow. And even the enemies, they don't say that anymore. But they do say it about Joe Biden. And honestly, he should take the test. In a way, he has an obligation to, because you have to be able to show this country that the person that we're picking as leader is sharp.
Now, of course, the concerns didn't go away when Trump took the test. In fact, taking that test has raised even more questions, and Trump's commentary on the test has raised even more questions. This is one of the strangest overall timelines that we've been in for American politics, certainly since I've had the David Pakman show, certainly since I've been following politics, and even really that I can remember while I was alive. This is outrageous. It's outrageous what's going on. And another strange thing is that Trump now says the reason he sought out the test was to disprove claims of cognitive decline. He never said that at the time. It's another inconsistency, but it also tells us Trump clearly is following these narratives that are appearing primarily on independent media. And I know we've joked around before about indications that either Don Jr. or Donald Trump may have seen segments of the David Pakman show. I'm not claiming that that's the case, and it's certainly conceivable, but I have no idea. Although I am aware of some aides at the White House that are certainly aware of the show. But what's clear is, even when these things don't appear on corporate media, and we say, corporate media really should be talking about X, Y, or Z, the cognitive stuff has only appeared on corporate media in the last couple of months. Years ago, independent media was talking about it, and it is very clear that Donald Trump was aware of it. And that also is interesting. It's not just Fox News that is sort of informing Donald Trump's understanding. And lastly, Trump still keeps talking about these cognitive tests as if they're kind of like IQ type memory games rather than just crude screenings for dementia. Everything about it is outrageous, and we'll have probably a poll question about this on our Instagram page. So make sure you are following us there at David Pakman Show on Instagram. And if you happen to pull up your Instagram app on your phone, you might as well give me a follow. You can check out my urban backyard garden and a lot of other wacky things. I'm David.Pakman on Instagram. Let me tell you real quick about one of our sponsors, Cuts Clothing. They offer super quality men's t-shirts, and they're giving you 15% off when you go to davidpakman.com/cuts. That's CUTS. Because solid color t-shirts are a really important staple in pretty much every guy's wardrobe. I think it's really important not to overlook the value of having t-shirts you love wearing. T-shirts from Cuts Clothing have been a game changer for me. And as a company, all they deal with are men's solid color t-shirts. So they actually put a ton of thought into the comfort, the style, the durability of the t-shirts they make. They fit perfectly. They're not scratchy. They don't shrink. They don't fade. They don't stretch out over time like so many other t-shirts. They're really the most comfortable t-shirts I've owned, and they look great. This right here that I'm wearing on YouTube is the split hem crew neck t-shirt. Very soft, fits me perfectly. It's the ideal length. Go take a look at what they offer, and once you have it, you are really going to see and feel the difference. Their slogan is, "It's the only shirt worth wearing." You will see why, and you'll get 15% off when you do it by going to davidpakman.com/cuts. That's davidpakman.com/CUTS.